So, it's a bit windy here. I hope you can hear my voice. I might have to re-record this if not. Lecture number 2, clipping. Okay, most guitar pedals out there are made with clipping. Diodes basically create this short circuit. So they let some voltage pass completely clean, and then they clip anything higher than that. And that's ideal for distortion. Also, diodes are super cheap, like 10 for a penny, and it only needs 2 to make a distortion. So that's pretty cool. Diodes are cool. Silicon diodes clip very sharply. They go from clean signal to totally clipping fast, and germanium diodes clip a little more softly. They have a bit of a transition, which sounds good to our ears, because how you clip changes the harmonic content, like we were talking earlier. We're talking about introducing harmonics through clipping, how if you clip a frequency, you're changing its shape, and when you change its shape, you create harmonics. It's that simple. There's a lot of technical theory behind it, but basically it's that simple. A sine wave has no harmonics, it's pure. A square wave has loads of harmonics, it's rich and complex. And so that's what we're doing with clipping. We're kind of going somewhere between those two extremes. We're clipping it a bit, we're chopping off the tops. As a diodes are a cheap way to do it. Silicon diodes are harsh, everything's a bit different. LEDs are different. LEDs have they let a lot of voltage through for clipping, so that's a different sound. But real tube amps don't clip like that. Real tube amps use cascaded tubes, and what that means is we have a load of tubes in a row, and each tube we drive it as hard as we can until it hits the supply voltage, the 250 volts, whatever it is, and when it reaches that, it's just got nowhere to go. So we're not artificially clipping the signal, we're just hitting this headroom thing. And it turns out that with tubes, that transition period between totally clean and totally clipped is really big. It's a really crazy, non-linear, smooth thing. So it's like the extreme end of the spectrum from a silicon diode, which is like goes from clean to clip straight away. And it's way more than a germanium that has a little bit of clip. Woo! I told you, crazy place to do a thing. I'm going to have to move a little along here. But I thought, hell, why not? I hope you can hear me. I hope the wind doesn't destroy this. Oh my god, I'm getting wet feet. Okay, so this is the thing, right? So we're just going to get through this. Out of the sea before I get drowned. There we go. I'm a bit up a slope now. We're better. That's okay. Yeah. So we've got this crazy thing with tube amps clipped smoothly. Now, it's not just because of that transition period, which is pretty much unique to a tube, but also because of the cascade. So each tube clips a little bit, and the next clips a bit more, next clips a bit, and that makes the transition even smoother again. And we can mimic that dead easy. All we have to do with that is use multiple operational amplifiers in a sequence. If we do that, then we get this smooth transition. But that costs money and it takes up board space. You know, those diodes are tiny and cheap, whereas operational amplifiers are really, much more expensive. They're 50 times more expensive, 500 times more expensive, which means they cost like 50 pence. But for a lot of manufacturers, there's no way you can get a Behringer pedal and say, we're going to put a dozen op amps in it at 50p a go. This is not viable. They can't do that. Well, that's what I'm basically doing here. We're having a cascade of different things, and this creates a much richer, smoother kind of thing. This is why I distinguish it as an overdrive, because you've got this smoothly building cascade, no specific clipping. And honestly, most pedals, your favorite pedals, HM2s, Tube Screamers, DOD 250s, they use the clipping, and sometimes they use different clipping. I love this. I'm having so much fun out here. It's crazy. Maybe we should turn this way. So there we go. So yeah, sometimes they use different types of clipping in different sequences and cascade those. So really cool example of this is the Wampler triple rec, and in that they have like a cascaded op amp, and they have a sort of hard clipping strapped across the supply, and then they have a soft clipping like a Tube Screamer, because a Tube Screamer does it a little bit differently. A Tube Screamer uses silicon diodes, but it puts them in a special configuration that makes them softer. So yeah, this is the thing that catches you out. There's all these different types of clipping on your pedals, and if you want to understand it, really you've got to understand the schematics a little bit. I might do a little thing in this and point out, because there's only a handful of clear different differences, point them out. But the main thing here is the Grand Classic uses a cascaded clipping through a series of op amps. It's a great way to do things, it's how the sounds on do it. There are other pedals who do it, but it just costs more. So, you know, again, if you want to be more of a sonic explorer and get different kinds of sounds out there, then you've got to pay a little more to have a few more components. More components it gives you more options. You know, if you're limiting yourself to 2 diodes, there's only so much you can do. So yeah, I hope that's enlightening and useful for episode 2. I shall see you soon when I'm not getting completely drowned, and hopefully you heard this with the wind. Maybe not.